Recording.
Bye.
Greetings from Storybrooke, or Hyperion. It's still Storybrooke. Greetings from Storybrooke. I'm Bobby Hawk.
I'm Elizabeth Placencia.
I'm Monica Jones.
And Tony will be joining us shortly here. Hopefully, we've got a messenger pigeon telling us he'll be here shortly. But we're here to discuss the hit ABC series Once Upon a Time. How are you guys doing this week?
Good.
You forgot the line, Bobby.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the new land where Henry has grown up and everything is different, and we talk about ABC's hit series Once Upon a Time. I am so sorry, Elizabeth. I am. Before we recorded, you were like, "Oh, this isn't the first time we've done this." Well, apparently it is, because my nerves are
you
shot.
said you had it all scripted.
I did, and it's right here in front of me. It is scripted. I just totally. Anyway. I am so sorry. Oh, how are you this week, Elizabeth?
I'm doing really good. I've had a really good week. How are you?
That's very good. I'm okay. Work's dying down. I'm a landscaper, so with the weather changing, even though weather doesn't change too much in Florida, it still does enough to grass doesn't grow quite as quickly anyway. And Monica, how are you doing this week?
Good.
That's
Glad
good to
the
hear.
show's back.
Yes. And anyone who didn't join us on the spoiler cast and is just joining us finally for the new season may recognize Monica as a former, or I guess always listener, not former listener. I don't know if she still listens now that she's actually on the show. But
a little awkward now.
now she's jumped on board to help us break down what is what is Once Upon a Time, and boy, it does it. Anyway, so the format's changed a little bit, but as always, we will have our rhyming summary. Elizabeth, why don't you go ahead and start that off for us?
All right. Season 7, Episode 1. In Season 7, everything is different. A new town, new characters, new curse. This change is not insignificant. Henry is all grown up and moved out of town. What will Henry find? A daughter, a wife, a glass slipper and gown? Lucy finds Henry in Seattle alone. The fact that Henry has a daughter really has him thrown. So many new characters, where do we start? There's a new Cinderella with a different story. Her stepmother still up with Who Wants All the Glory. There's Alice and Tiana. Hook's now Rogers. Rumple's now Weaver. And Regina is now Ronnie. What's up with these names that aren't really funny? There's so much going on and no real questions answered. These are some of the facts and highlights as we start a new book in this week's Hyperion Heights.
Yay!
Sorry, I had my mic off. My dogs are. Oh, and there was my mic again. But my dogs are starting to go crazy, so I was trying to keep the barking down to a mild roar at least. So as I had said before the rhyme, we do have a few changes in store. We figured since the show is being retooled a bit, we'd retool ours as well. Nothing's real major, but just try to focus it a little bit more, keep it a little bit more on flow. But it's still the same old conversational podcast it's always been, breaking down Once Upon a Time. So sorry, I was trying to. These dogs are so distracting me right now. Nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. So moving on, let's go ahead and break down what is Once Upon a Time. So in Storybrooke, Henry says goodbye to Regina. He tells her that he found countless other stories at the Sorcerer's Mansion, and he isn't in any of them. He's decided that he wants to go out on his own adventure to find out where he belongs. Basically, this is like half of the cold open. And I have one question. If this is the only story he's in, how is this not where he belongs? Like, what makes him even think or feel that, you know, like, oh, I don't belong here? That just kind of
just feels out of place.
I guess, but like
everyone else around him has multiple copies except him.
He's an original.
Yeah, and
Yes.
but that's, I guess, my point is that, you know, this is the one place that he is from, and so I guess in my mind they didn't really do a good job of conveying what made Henry feel so out of place, because like his family was here, his friends were, you know, like what made, I don't know. Like I said, to me, it just that was my big thing, was like what exactly about this makes you feel like you don't belong?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question personally.
No, neither do I, and that, you know, that's just something that kind of egged me about minute scene and barely the cold open. It almost feels to me like they tagged it on. Like they had to have people realize that, you know, they had to have Jared Gilmore in here for a minute to segue into what is it? Andrew West, is that his name? Andrew J. West or something like that. Yeah. All right. And okay. Other points that were made. Magic. A New Realm years later. As a much more mature Henry speeds through a forest on his headless horse, he runs into this realm's Cinderella. So my big question about that is, years later, how is he still riding around on a motorcycle?
Yeah, where's he getting the gas?
And like, yeah, where's he getting the gas? How is he repairing it? You know,
it's called a plot hole. You're overthinking it.
Oh my God, there's so. I know, but I mean that's my job, is to overthink this stuff. It's so hard for me to, but I mean, okay, thinking
that was pretty glaring.
Yeah, I don't quite. I mean, the least that could have been is like maybe before he left, Regina said, "Well, at least let me put a magic spell on your bicycle, you know, on your motorcycle,
so it always runs."
Yeah, you know, something like Doc Brown. Now it runs on magic berries. I don't know. I mean, something.
When did Doc Brown ever say that?
Like he's got the plutonium thing at the end of.
I know, but there's no magic berries.
I was making an analogous. Oh my God! Never mind.
Okay.
But anyway, those two scenes basically make our cold open. He literally runs into Cinderella. I mean, basically,
her carriage was beautiful, by the way.
The set design,
I wish I could ride in that carriage.
The set design and the costumes on this show are always top notch, in my opinion. Did anyone mention? Or notice? I do recall, if I'm not mistaken, last year we learned that Eduardo Castillo, or whatever his name is, wouldn't be back this season. Is that correct?
Designer, yeah, he's not the costume designer anymore.
Right. So I wondered, I didn't even bother looking up to see who was on this season, and you know where we might have seen their other work. But that's definitely something I should look up. But it actually wasn't that bad as far as costume design goes. I thought Cinderella's dress was great. I thought Henry's, I don't know what you want to call. I mean, outlaw garb. I don't even.
Getup was very David reminiscent, and there was,
and I think that's very
his behavior even.
He's clearly the new Charlie and Daddy right there. The new Snow.
Yes. Both of you are correct. That are both. I believe Elizabeth, you said that he's definitely the new
Charming, and she's the new Snow.
Definitely feel that they went out of their way to put that point across. That's, you know, they're the new true love, and Unfortunately, I did see a lot of discussion online that said that there wasn't really the chemistry there that you know to show that true love. But I mean, this is the. Go ahead.
Well, okay, I could see that he was into her. That was clearly, but she was more focused on her task at hand. So I don't think it's necessarily maybe love at first sight. I mean, she definitely did think he was handsome, and he's definitely thinking she's beautiful. But I don't know if true love is always love at first sight. But I think that she was just so focused on what she was doing, she didn't have time to stop and be like, "Oh, this guy's cute. Let me get his number."
Which is exactly the same thing that happened with David or with Chani and Snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, and that's another complaint I saw is that this episode played a lot of too much of been there, done that.
It was like the pilot all over again.
Yes, with a twist. It was like the pilot with a once twist.
Yeah. There's always a once twist.
Right, and which is even called out by Cinderella later in the episode. But we are jumping ahead. Aspiring basically after. Oh, I did. What's something I didn't put in the notes here? I always like the little nod they put in the Once Upon a Time, the title card, and in this one it was the Seattle Space Needle.
Mm-hmm.
So, just how they always have something in that title card that references something that's going to happen in the episode. That's, thought I'd mention that. But anyway, aspiring author Henry Mills gets his side hustle on as he makes some extra dough to help out between books. He returns home to continue working on a blank page as he hears a knock at the door. A familiar story unfolds.
So can I say something real quick?
Please, I kind of figured you would at this point.
Yeah. Well, did either of you notice that he lives in apartment 815?
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, 815 is a big thing. It always is, yes.
Yeah, that's like a major thing on the show. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's so, reminiscent and perfect and everything. And the fact that he's an Uber driver is hilarious to me because I'm a Lyft driver. So
right. Well, he's a Swift driver.
Well, I know it's Swift in the show, but they were like Eddie Kitsis and Adam Horowitz were saying he's an Uber driver, pretty much. That's what they said in an article that I read, so that's what I'm calling it.
No, I understand, but basically he's yes, and I figured you would be able to relate to that because I know that.
Oh, definitely. I had a couple make out in the backseat of my car once, just like he was experiencing, and it is very uncomfortable.
So
I had to tell him, "Can you please stop?"
Does it get like Taxi Cab Confessions?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, I guess that's a child of the '90s thing. Sorry. It was a show on HBO that was basically like a camera in a taxi cab with like basically the kind of stories you were just trying to describe, but there wasn't anyone saying "Stop that, please."
No, anyway. It's not. Yeah. Anyways.
Sorry. Did anyone notice? There's always got to be a nod to Mickey. It seems like in every episode at this point.
Oh.
And so you notice the family putting on the ears in the back of Henry's car.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, in Seattle, why? And I was like, okay, I guess maybe
they were on their way back. Seattle. There's no Disneyland in Seattle, so it really makes no sense why they're putting on.
Well, they were on their way back from the airport.
That's what I was thinking.
Or maybe they're on their way to the airport. Maybe I don't know.
Or whichever. Yeah, they're on their way from Disney or to Disney. But yeah, at first I was like, Disney Seattle. When did that happen? And it's not like Anaheim's right next to Washington. But anyway. Elizabeth, did you have? Oh, okay. You have apartment 18. Elizabeth, Monica, did you have anything you wanted to add to this scene?
No, I love how he gets home and throws his keys down, and there's a little swan on his keychain.
Yes, yes. I tweeted that out on our Twitter account. That was one of the things I did notice. There was something else I tweeted. Oh, the Hyperion Heights. As opposed to there being a sign saying greetings or whatever it is on the when you're leaving Storybrooke. Now there's like a movie theater with a sign that says "Welcome to Hyperion Heights" on it, and they showed that like a few different times. As the first time as Jacinda was running by it, which I believe is our next scene. But yes, the swan keychain was a very nice touch, Monica. I did notice that as well. Man, my voice is just not here tonight. So Jacinda, our Cinderella, rushes to make it to work, and as she arrives late as usual, she comes to the defense of a coworker, costing her job. Back in the forest, Henry tries to help Cinderella find her prince, and in Seattle, Henry returns home to find his laptop taken hostage. The instructions direct him to take a left at the toll bridge under the Aurora Bridge to find Ronnie's. Man, this episode is all over the place. And it is this episode, like just that little when I tried to break it down scene by scene, it's just like right there's like 4 or 5 different things happening in that little paragraph, and it's like in 2 or 3 different timelines. It's oh my god, it was so hard to keep track of what was going on in this episode. I noticed that the troll looks like one of those giants from Fraggle Rock. Elizabeth, do you know what that is?
No. I think I've heard of Fraggle Rock, but I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
Jesus. Oh my god. I think my heart just like stopped beating.
Oh, come on.
Well, there was only so 4 seasons of it.
I'm so old. No, the Fraggle Rock is... Fraggle Rock was great, Elizabeth. It was a show on HBO from like the Henson Company.
Okay, I didn't have HBO as a kid. I didn't have that. That's probably why I missed out on.
Well, they eventually did like a cartoon of it and different things like that. But I mean, it was basically just like these. I don't even know what you would call them. These little things that lived in called Fraggles. Yeah, I guess that's what you would call them. Yeah, Fraggles. Thank you, Monica. That live in like caves and eat like there's like these little even tinier things in them called dozers that like make constructions, out of little icicles or something, I guess. And then the Fraggles eat all of their what? Well, yeah, and radishes. Yes, they love radishes. Yeah, but then they're always
make sticks out of radishes. Why the sticks are clear, I don't know.
It's from radishes. The things that they make the sticks are from radishes.
I remember right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. But anyway, definitely a little off tangent. The troll, the troll looked like the what was it? Gorgs.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Tony still is not with us yet. Have you heard from him, Elizabeth? Do we have like a
he said he
Tony
was home.
update?
He said he was home, and that was it. So okay, I don't know anything else.
I will send out another update to him just in case.
I thought it looked like the rock giant from Neverending Story. Was what it
I could see that, but it had like the hair coming off of either side. I guess that's what made for look like the thing from Fraggle Rock, like I said, the Gorgs. But I guess apparently, if Elizabeth is any indication, half of our listening audience probably won't know what a Fraggle is. All right,
okay, so
all right,
cool.
Yes, he's all right. So Henry arrives to find Ronnie tending bar, and I'm sorry. We recognize Ronnie as Regina, Henry's adopted mother. Neither recognize each other. Earlier in the forest, Henry tries to help Cinderella get to her ball. And as he explains how he knows her story, she explains there may be a twist as she knocks him down and takes his headless horse. Man, I need to get some water. Excuse me. So... I'm sorry. Someone's kind of peeked their head in the door there and threw me off track. So
okay, so Henry's at Ronnie's bar.
I know, but my hand skipped down the notes and I totally lost my place. Elizabeth, did you have anything or did I finish that scene? I'm sorry. I totally lost.
Well, you have in the notes. Here's Ronnie. How many different versions of this character has Ronnie?
Oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. So, like I said, someone's poked their head in the door, and I totally lost my place. All right. So, as I explained, that Cinderella knocked him down and took his headless horse. I like how she keeps referring to that as the headless horse.
Tony!
Tony's here. All right. Good.
Yay! We are complete now.
Maybe now he's here, we're complete, and everything will like actually start going a little smoothly. So one of my favorite, I started noting a few of my favorite lines from the episode, and one of my favorite lines here was, "Imagine if I walked through that door and told you I was your son."
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a kicker.
If only.
But yes,
true.
of course.
Oh.
Of course, we're finally introduced to Ronnie, and what is this, like 8 different versions of the character that Lana Parrilla has played now. And
yeah, but I gotta say, she's so versatile. I mean, she can do so much with one character. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please. That's, like I said, this is a conversational podcast. But that's what I love, is that she's able to give each different version of the character. Mm-hmm. You know, you realize, you can see when, like, if you had to put all of those scenes together, you could realize what version of that character she's playing. Like, even Regina through the years being totally evil, then maybe just misunderstood evil, then being, you know, Regina. Now. Yeah, exactly.
And then last season when she was the evil queen and Regina, I mean, hats off to her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Tony, come on in.
She's a great actress.
Hey.
Hey, Tony. We were just describing the introduction of Ronnie / Regina and her bar, and you had I guess a short comment to make about Ronnie's bar.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, talk about it being basically Granny's the updated version. It's like Windows just rolled out an update.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
No, I really thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's another way that there were a few different ways that I felt like this show was like, this isn't your some like quaint little diner in the middle of a rustic town. This is a bar in the middle of a busy, you know,
city.
Suburb of a city. Yeah,
upcoming city that, you know, that they kept pointing it out as like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
All right. So basically, the next scene we have is Jacinda returns, or set of scenes, I guess. Jacinda returns home to find her daughter Lucy has snuck out again. She is afraid because apparently she has been having custody battles with her stepmother. Elsewhere in town, Victoria Belfry arrives to a perfect production of The Devil Wears Prada. In the past, we find that Victoria has taken it upon herself to clip the fairy godmother's wings. She does this to show her daughters that fear, not magic, is the true power. In the present, Jacinda finds Lucy at the local wishing well. So every good town secretly full of fairy tale characters has one. A few notes that I had about these set of scenes is that, of course, Victoria Belfry, in my mind, makes a great big bad name. And I will never look at Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo the same way again. And like I said, I mean, they totally ripped off Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not the only. Yeah, I mean, just totally the assistant like running around making everyone get into order, and oh my god,
take off that ridiculous tie.
Yeah,
There's
everything.
actually a meme out there already showing Devil Wears Prada and images, Devil Wears Prada with images of Hyperion Heights and Victoria walking in versus the lady from Devil Wears Prada walking in, and they like scene for scene, like 3 images. So I already saw that on Facebook earlier today. So I was like, oh, it's already out there.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost to the point where, like, it was almost an homage or a parody. It was, you know, they almost did it so hard that you couldn't just say, oh, they ripped it off. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be one thing to just like steal the tone of the movie, but I mean, like the whole scene is just straight out, you know, of that movie.
I really think it was just their inspiration. I mean, you know, to explain the you know, the power that she has, you know, basically to act, you know, to make people act that way, you know, installing fear, I guess.
No, yeah, I mean, it's obvious, I guess, why they chose to go that route. I don't know. It was, like I said, I mean, if there's memes about it, I definitely wasn't off base. And then as far as the whole bibbity bobbity booth thing, I mean, yeah, what do you think, Elizabeth?
I just can't believe she used that line to kill the fairy godmother. I mean, we all have seen the Disney Cinderella version, and you know, that is a big scene where, you know, she gets the carriage and she gets the dress, and it's a powerful moment. And then to see the stepmother turn that line into something heinous and evil is like, oh my God. I don't even know how to describe it, because it just kind of shocked me that those 3 words could kill the fairy godmother.
And I think they did that on purpose to show, you know, like how wicked this stepmother really is, and how she doesn't, you know, just how she said, she doesn't necessarily need magic to do what she has to do, even though she used magic to do what she had to do.
Definitely quite dark.
Yeah. So that to me kind of left the message of what she was trying to say a little empty when she said, what was it exactly she said to her daughter, that magic isn't power because magic can be taken.
Yes.
Which is an interesting thought. But then, like I said, I mean, I guess so the same can be said for power.
Definitely.
Power can be taken as well. So,
well, she was
I mean,
saying that fear is hard to get, like, it's hard to get rid of another person's fear.
Elizabeth went black. Oh, and there she is again.
I did?
Yeah, you're fine. What were you saying, Elizabeth?
Oh, I said that she was basically trying to get across the point that if you have someone fear you, the power is in the fear.
No, yes, yeah. I mean, basically, she was saying the power isn't the magic; the power is the fear.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess it was the wording that power isn't, you know, power, or magic isn't power, or whatever, you know. And use the magic. I don't know. Like I said, it just left it a little hollow for me. But I do definitely understand where they were coming from with that. Monica, do you have anything to add?
I just, again, these people with their timelines. So Jacinda gets home like hours early, and then Lucy is has to be ready to go to her grandmother's. How is she going to get to her grandmother's if Mom had worked out her shift?
I thought that too. Yeah. Like, how is she surprised that her daughter's not there? And like, then while she was there, she was like, "Oh, my mom or stepmom's about to come get Lucy." But then we're like, "Well, wait a second. You were just going to be at work, so who was going to get Lucy ready then?" I know. Yes, that came across to me as well, Monica. They definitely play a little, and that's my problem. I totally understand me not having to overanalyze everything, but at least make sense of things you're doing with, like, in scenes. You know,
have some continuity from one scene to the next.
Exactly. So Jacinda arrives at Ronnie's to return Henry's laptop, and obviously smitten, Ronnie offers a few drinks to break the tension. In the past, Cinderella arrives at her ball to find her prince, but Henry surprises her and finds out that this prince may not be so charming. In this story, the prince killed Cinderella's father, leaving her in the care of her wicked stepmother. She's stolen Henry's dagger to seek her revenge. And as Cinderella runs off, Henry realizes he's been drugged and wakes up in a cave, greeted by Alice. Yes, that Alice. In Seattle, a girl we recognize as Alice looks for Weaver to let him know there's a new kid in town. And we find Weaver getting information as he turns out to be none other than Rumple. A lot going on in those few minutes there. I kind of tried to go from commercial break to commercial break. And some commercial breaks, there's like nothing going on. But then some would be like, whoa, like how do I even fit all that in? I think I even had to break this one up a little bit. But anyway, so why did Lucy tell Henry to meet at Ronnie's? Was she going to go there? Was she just hoping that her mom would show up and she was just trying to get the parents to meet? Like Parent Trap style?
I thought so.
Yeah, I think she definitely planned that moment. Definitely.
Like she was just trying to get her mom and dad to meet or whatever.
Saying like, hey, dad, I have your laptop. Go to the bar. Hey, mom. So,
I stole the laptop. Go give it back.
Yeah.
And that's all that it took. It was definitely a kind of a Parent Trap feeling.
And then that whole cave scene definitely seemed a bit confusing. I know I'm jumping a little bit forward in our discussion here, but where was that cave? How did he all of a sudden get back to the ball in time to stop Cinderella from doing what she was going to do? Again, just all kinds of wonky, nothing really made sense from one scene to the next, sometimes in this episode in particular.
It did make sense how he was in those vines and then he was not in those vines anymore. And then it also doesn't make sense how Rumple, if Henry's in some version of the Enchanted Forest, how does Rumple even know what Henry's up to, who he's getting involved with? If Rumple is in Storybrooke, how does Rumple know?
Nothing surprises me with Rumple.
Yeah, nothing definitely surprises me with Rumple either. I mean,
no.
His power is great. It extends throughout the realm.
Like even Alice says, you should know as well as as anyone that your grandfather has his hands in everything. So that didn't surprise me. What the cave thing was just totally like, what is this? Like when he said, "Get me out of this," and she said, "Out of what?" and he just came down like that. Upon my first viewing, I was wondering to myself, is this even happening, or did she just drug him and this is all just happening in his head?
It's a hallucination.
Right? Is he even in this cave? But then when I watched it again, he at the end of that scene or set of scenes, he actually runs out of that cave to get back to the ball where Cinderella's at. Definitely. And so, how close was that? Was this cave underneath this it had to have been that. It had to have been that close for him to be able to do the things he was doing in the time allotted. Anyway.
Again, I think we're overanalyzing about the way that this show works sometimes. I think what we should do is
but it just.
And I thought I was bad with the champagne flute.
Right.
It's hard not to when they do. It's hard not to when they feel when they can't even bring continuity scene to scene. But Tony, go ahead, Tony.
Oh no! What I was going to say is, it never makes sense until you see the deleted scenes. Maybe in the deleted scene, they'll be like, okay, well, hey, while people weren't paying attention, when Alice drugged Henry, maybe she literally drugged him to a cave and be like, oh yeah, so this is happening, and there would be a deleted scene for that. Maybe. I mean, of course, it never makes sense throughout the show when they show it. They just leave us to piece everything together, basically. That's what it seems.
There was just a lot that they were trying to convey in this first hour, and I mean, did anyone notice that there wasn't many? Maybe it was just me, and maybe I'm wrong, but there wasn't a whole lot of subtitles, a whole lot of title cards.
I don't know what you mean by that.
The first 10 minutes had the many years later, Seattle, Magical Forest, but then after that, there was nothing.
Mm-hmm. I guess
And
after the introduction, they just said, "Okay, well, here's your introduction. This is how it happened." Now
it almost
the whole show.
Yeah.
like I said,
You should know, we set it up.
Right, you should know. We set it up, you know.
Right, and maybe this is me overanalyzing it, but it almost felt as if like that was their way of doing away with those types of transitions to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the future, we'll just be able, you'll just know, obviously this is, from the Magical Forest and this is from Seattle.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe it probably would have been nice for them to say, meanwhile, in the cave under the palace.
They are never that transparent.
But then you're getting like
Meanwhile, in the dungeon.
Right, meanwhile in the dungeon under the castle in this specific time.
Then you're getting
wish
into like
they were
Adam
that
West,
transparent. They've never
Adam
been that
West
transparent.
Batman territory.
Yeah, definitely.
But so did you have anything to add about the set of scenes here about someone not being afraid of magic?
Oh, well, no, actually, I think that was in the specific scene previous to this when we were viewing the stepmother killing off the
the grandmother. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like killing off the fairy godmother, which I do want to point out. I guess Cinderella's fairy godmother never lasts in whatever version you put her in. The previous version.
Doubt.
Rumple killed her. This version, the stepmother killed her. It's like, wow, you don't survive.
Yeah, and clipped her wings.
Like, of all things, it's like, wow, that is quite dark.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
How did she clip the fairy's wings and not leave a mess?
Right?
How was the fairy asleep?
Anything.
I mean,
a lot of good questions.
How did she drug the fairy in the first place?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, let's not start overanalyzing like we just have been saying over the past 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
No, but I mean, like you would think that. Okay, well,
anyway, so let's move on.
Years, so many things.
Yeah, well, I hear you. So let's move on to the next set of scenes, and at Ronnie's, Jacinda tells Henry what she'd want her story to be. Her and Lucy living on a small island, tending to a lighthouse, maybe a garden. When Lady Belfry comes in to tell Jacinda that she is taking back custody of Lucy and tells Henry to leave them alone. As Henry tries to do just that, he finds his car's been stolen, and the local police seem to be less cooperative until Officer Rogers offers to help. Okay. What's up with Victoria? Like, I like Gabrielle Anwar. I've liked her in other things she's done. So, like, what is up with like the way they're making her up in this show? Because she just looks like straight up like her face has been painted on with a roller.
Eyebrows were distracting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like there were like I had to watch the scene like 4 or 5 times to even catch what was going on. I'm not even like I hate to even like point it out. But I'm not pointing out Gabrielle Anwar's looks because even earlier in the episode, like in the past scenes, she doesn't look that distracting. She doesn't look that bad. But when she's made up as like current day Victoria Belfry, good God, I don't know if they did that to like make you hate her, but like it's working. I can't. Yeah. I can't even stand to look at her.
I think that's basically what article said. Like, hey, we're going to make this character and we're going to make you despise her. And yeah, it's working.
Oh my God.
Because
I said, I'm really sorry. And this has nothing to do with Gabrielle Anwar. I've seen her elsewhere and think she's a lovely lady, but good God, please. And I'm sure this is something we'll at least get with the first few episodes, but man, it was bad. Those lips, those eyebrows, I just can't.
I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it either.
So anyway, and what happened to Jacinda? How is her stepmother able to so easily get custody of Lucy? Her stepmother is able to get custody of Lucy.
How does a stepmother get custody of? I mean, they're not blood related.
I mean,
I
I
don't know how
guess
that works.
okay. I guess if she's like, been her stepmother since she was, a child, and her dad died early, and this woman adopted her, whatever. But like, I don't know. It just seems far fetched about like this whole step, and I'm sure we'll never really learn any more backstory about that. To be honest with you, all we'll know about that is just the context of what's going on currently.
Basically,
I think it's a legal thing.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It just seems like it just seems like one of those things saying, "Hey, she's been my stepmother as long as I can remember." Line,
Like I said, Jacinda would have to be like strung out on all sorts of different crap to have a judge just like arbitrarily give custody over to her stepmother like that. I mean, that's not something that's just like, oh, someone goes to court and says my stepdaughter's a bad mother, so I want custody of her daughter. That's not how that works. Even if you have as much money as apparently Victoria Belfry does. But that's not the only thing that didn't make sense. What about you, Elizabeth? You had something to add?
I just was confused as to who stole Henry's car, and yeah, I didn't get who stole it. Like, I thought it was Jacinda at first, but then upon rewatching it, I'm like, no, it seems like she has her own car. So I'm still confused as to who stole it.
And then it makes even less sense.
But it doesn't make sense at that point in the story. Like, a little later, it makes sense, but not then.
The only thing I can... I tried to go over this in my head time and time again as far as what you guys are saying, and the only thing that I could logically finally come to is kind of branching off of what Lucy says when she says that their car broke down when they tried to leave because of the curse. I guess the curse took Henry's car, so he couldn't leave.
Makes perfect sense.
No, that's perfect.
I mean, as much sense as anything else on this show.
Right. Maybe somebody else stole it. Maybe she had somebody steal it. Who knows? We'll never know, really.
Right. And
Tony,
I believe
Belfry. I can't imagine Victoria herself driving his car.
I think basically she just hired somebody to say, "Hey, take his car," so he'll realize that sticking around is not a good idea, and then she'll give him his car.
But he was already trying to. It wasn't like he was trying to. It wasn't like Emma in the first season where she was trying to stick around. He was already in the process of trying to leave. So I don't understand why she would. There was really no like. She told him, "Hey, you need to leave," and then he went to leave, and his car was gone. So
I think specifically to answer this question, if you remember when his car was being brought back to him, put down off of the crane and stuff, you saw Alice in the background looking. So maybe she has something to do with it.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it was very, very, very
Weaver put her up to it.
Yeah, I could see. I could possibly see that that Weaver had something to do with it. I could possibly see that.
Like, definitely, it just seems like Alice didn't have a really big comeuppance or big type of scene in this first episode, especially when you're in the present day. Like, in the past she may have been, but not the present day, which made it seem so easy for her to may have had something to do with his car missing. She had a small presence in the present day. So
and then you had a few questions about what's making Jacinda so hopeless in the first place.
Okay, so let me see here. What I really just want to know, just in general, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, or maybe it's just one of her big things, but I really want to know what made Jacinda, just as a person, give up on believing in signs. Like, I think it would have had to do with something with her father's passing, or just something, or just bad things happening to her. And it's just a question in general. Like, what do you think made her, just give up on believing in signs? Period.
I agree with you. I think it has something to do with her father.
Maybe it was something that her father always told her.
Believe in
science. And then when he died, that just totally made her stop believing.
It was more of a question towards when they were trying to leave the city limits, So
I'm just going by what you have in the notes here. No, you're fine.
But that was
and Monica, you felt that Belfry was maybe tipping her hand too much as far.
She just starts kind of telling Henry his life story, and I'm like, okay, I know there's the internet and you have assistants, but why do you know so much about him? It's not that you couldn't get that information, but why would you bother? And I think she's behind the curse. I think she knows what's up, but
I don't know.
I mean, especially if that's the case, why would you let on so much? I don't know.
Oh no! As far as the curse is concerned, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss about that later on. But let's move on with the story because we've already been on chatting for almost an hour.
I have a question.
Whoa!
Well, go ahead.
Okay. Is this the first time Henry's ever been cursed? Because the only time I can remember that he's ever forgotten everybody around him was when him and Emma left town. Because they all got swept up back into the Enchanted Forest in season 3. So I think that's the only time that Henry forgot, and then Henry was awoken with his mother Regina's true love's kiss. Other than that, he's never been cursed, right?
There was the cursed year in New York.
Yeah,
that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, I think that's what she was talking about.
But he wasn't really cursed. He just forgot his memories.
But that's still
like part of the curse.
Yeah, that was part of a curse, I believe.
Okay. Because any other time there was a curse, he was never part of it. He was always on the outside, and he was able to save them or something like that.
No, I understand. But yeah, I believe that just before we're going to marry Emma.
Wait.
Sorry, you froze, Bobby.
Yeah, you froze a little bit, Bobby. This is the reason why you were talking. It was like, wait.
Oh, okay. Huh? No, I was saying the year where they were cursed in New York when she almost married that monkey.
Yeah.
Oh, Walsh.
Augie.
Walsh. Oh, poor Walsh.
I know he'll always be Augie from Covert Affairs to me. You.
See, for me, he was Jake 2. For me, he was Jake 2.0.
I don't know what that is.
Me either.
He was in a short-lived UPN show. He was the title character. It was called Jake 2.0. It was basically Chuck before Chuck.
Oh.
It was like this IT CIA guy who got splashed with stuff that all of a sudden made him super powered.
Oh, short-lived.
Let's go check that out.
Yeah.
Short-lived.
Jake 2.0. Anyway, but anyway, as I said, Henry tries to bargain his realm, or I'm sorry, is this where we're at?
I believe.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So Henry tries to bargain his release from wherever. But Alice delivers an ominous message from Rumple. When it's not your story, bad things happen. Henry tells her he must stay and help in Seattle. In Seattle, Henry must come upon Lucy in the garden as she's throwing hyacinth seeds. She tries once again to convince him, but he lashes back, telling her his family was lost in a fire. Excuse me. Like I said tonight, my voice is not there. Happened again.
As
Henry leaves, Jacinda drives up, telling Lucy it's time to start their story. Every time I try to scroll down, I scroll too far. Anyway, so I didn't really have a lot to add about this. Obviously Rumple's seems playing behind the scenes. Looks like he's been following Henry this whole time. The hyacinth seeds seem to be playing a big part in this show, as they come up like a dozen times in this episode. And it was really interesting to see to finally get a little of what Henry thinks his backstory is, and the exchange between him and Lucy in this scene, and the last scene here really tore my heart out, to be honest with you.
Yes.
That little girl is definitely a better actor than most child actors we've had on the show.
Yeah, she's good.
Definitely. She pulled my heartstrings.
And then Henry's story, or his cursed memories. I broke.
Definitely.
Yeah, like I said, but like between that and the girl, the whole scene, it was rough.
Gallant hurt Henry.
You wanted to add something about Alice, maybe, Tony?
Yeah. It just seems like let me see here. Gotta wait. This seems like it was for another quote. I do believe our doc is a little bit off. A little bit. I remember writing that for.
Where you put your notes? Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you had the
point.
You're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you were saying Alice is from crazy. You think Alice is pretty much crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that had to do with the scene when she had him held up in the cave there. I don't know how.
Yeah, it was what we were discussing on the last one. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
I don't know how.
I mentioned Alice in this as well. It definitely it goes with it. Alice definitely is different from these one that Sophie played in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, and but I guess like Kitsis and Horowitz said, that doesn't really matter because no one watched, which I take great offense to because I love that show. It's definitely better than, in my opinion, quite a few seasons of Once Upon a Time itself.
It was something new, something fresh, and something different. And
I really like that show. In fact, to be honest with you, like the scene with Cinderella in the show where they portray her to be a bad, she can hold her own
sword fighting lady.
Yeah, in my opinion, one of the best scenes as far as Once Upon a Time is concerned, that's ever been portrayed is the opening, or not the opening, when Alice breaks out of jail in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Definitely.
That is such a great scene. I mean, anyway, but yeah, this Alice is definitely not that Alice. I don't know what. Obviously, she's known as Tilly in town. She's obviously working with Weaver / Rumple. It's hard to say whether Rumple knows exactly what's going on or not, and if so, whether this Tilly girl knows what's going on or not. I mean, I have an inkling that Weaver and Tilly might have full,
what's going on,
their surroundings. Yeah, but only time will tell. You know how that goes.
Right, they could be woke already and just be playing a part. Who knows?
And I believe you had a line to mention from this exchange here.
Oh, Lucy's line. No story is perfect. It just needs to start.
That was a good line. And what was that from?
Hang that somewhere.
Lucy said that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Lucy said that.
Yes, she was telling
Henry.
Yes. Yes. I mean, there definitely is. I mean, obviously, as we've mentioned, the parallels to the first season between Lucy and Emma, or Lucy and Henry, as to Emma and Henry. And I think they're doing a good job of playing it the same but different.
Definitely.
It's a familiar story, but there's still enough different to where we're like, wait a second, how did this get like this?
Definitely, it'll be a good journey to go through.
All right, and my doc keeps getting all sorts of messed up here, guys. I am so sorry.
You are not alone in that one, which is why it's kind of funny on how some of our points are ending up under a different section.
That's weird.
Kind of weird. No, we're rolling with it.
Sorry,
we're
guys.
On J
I
on
lost my
page 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on page 5.
Wow, I was on 8. I don't know what happened there. Jacinda's car breaks down as they try to leave town, and Lucy tells her it's because the curse doesn't want them to leave. At the palace, Cinderella tries to have her revenge, but can't bring herself to kill the prince. Her stepmother arrives and does so herself, alerting the guards. Alerting the guards that Cinderella herself has killed the prince. Henry tells Cinderella to escape and meet him where they first met. He will hold off the guards. She grabs a sword as well and shows that she can hold her own. Like I said before, I mean, Cinderella is a BA. Badass. Yeah, I think we say that.
Yep.
But yeah.
We have now.
Whatever. Yeah.
Just did.
Hey, they said worse on this week's episode of Once Upon a Time.
Right. Jesus.
Like I said, there were quite a few moments where it was like, this is not your daddy's Once Upon a Time.
Watching her kick butt and yield a sword was awesome.
Definitely. Yes, that was definitely. Yeah, and that's kind of why I stopped here, is because I felt like that scene itself definitely, deserved a moment of its own to breathe. I mean, that was definitely, like I said, I mean, just like his grandmother, just like Snow, she may be a fairy character, but she's no damsel in distress.
Same as Alice, same as Alice too. They have that all in common, which I really like that twist. That there all doesn't seem like to be, waiting for the guy in their lives to come and save them, like that.
And then there was the moment when Henry told her to go to where we first met. Wasn't that something that Charming and Snow also did?
Hey, he had to get it from somewhere.
No, I know, but I'm just saying there's those parallels, like we said before. This is basically
he's getting his charming lines from his grandfather.
Oh,
and then
he's taking after his grandfather. That's all. It's pretty awesome.
Yes. And then Monica, Town Line Connection. I'm sorry, I was reading the notes here at the end. I was trying to see if you had anything to add.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to know where did she learn to fight? Because stepmom sure as heck wasn't going to teach her. So I guess it had to have been her dad, or maybe someone who worked.
Yeah, there's a lot we really don't know. Like, okay, so apparently this prince killed her dad. How long ago was that? Like you just said, in the interim, was she just locked up in her house? Was she off doing chores for, I'm just going to call her Victoria because we don't know what her name is in the past.
I thought it was Lady Tremaine in the past.
Yeah.
Was it Lady Tremaine?
I don't think they said it in the show.
But that's just what Cinderella's stepmother's name is, Lady Tremaine.
Right.
But yeah, when I watched it 2 or 3 times, I kept trying to watch for like her name in the past, and I couldn't find it.
I read it in an article.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're right. That is Cinderella's stepmother's name. I just, like I said, in the show itself, I tried to catch it like a few times, and it never really actually said it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they'll say it and then I'm sure if I actually read the credits, they probably said it in there as well. All right, so moving on. As Henry talks with Rogers about getting his car back, Belfry arrives and tells him to drop everything to find Lucy. Jacinda and Lucy attempt to leave on a ferry, but Cinda's stepsister shows up to bring them back. Apparently, Henry told them about the island fantasy. Officer Rogers is given Lucy's storybook to dispose of, but looks at it and finds something he seems to recognize. So they were planning on escaping to an island across the lake.
Sounds inhabitable. I mean, habitable.
No, I mean, it sounds like they could live there, but I just don't know that. Like, I don't quite understand how they thought they were going to be able to escape. When you run away from something, you usually run away. You don't run to that lighthouse you see across the bay.
Right. As if they can't get some type of transportation to go.
I.e. this ferry that you're about to ride over there. Right. It was just, I was like, okay. Jacinda obviously has not thought any of this through. At this point, you're being as naive as you think your daughter is.
Pretty much. It just seemed futile.
And then you apparently you were screaming something at the TV as you saw Hook looking at the book there, huh, Tony?
Yeah, definitely. Well, within them trying to leave, I just thought that I liked how the creators had incorporated into the show about the town's limits. As you saw that her car broke down, I'm like, oh, leaving town, girls. Don't you like? You guys don't know this, but I just love how they incorporated that, and kind of it's comforting to know that they still have that element, which is what I thought was cool about that. But about Hook, I really had hope that when he saw the book and when he was going through, you notice how he stopped a couple times. I was really hoping that he would have woken up and just said, Emma.
Yeah, there were definitely a few moments there where it definitely seemed like he was screaming that inside at the very least.
Yeah, or something. There was a gut reaction on his face.
No, there's definitely something going on there.
He's like, his face goes up. It's like there's perfect imaging right there.
Right.
It looked like he recognized someone from his face, like what you just said, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's almost as if as soon as he saw the book, he just seemed, even though the book doesn't look anything like the old book, and apparently it ends a lot later than the other book did, because it ends when Cinderella runs into Henry, or Henry runs into Cinderella, rather. That's not the beginning of this new book. That's the end of the old book.
This is true.
I found that a little weird. But anyway, as Henry's car is returned, Jacinda returns to give him a piece of her mind. As we flash back to the forest, Henry arrives at the carriage crash site to find no Cinderella. A timer goes off on his phone and a portal opens. Just then, he notices a glass slipper. He lets the portal close and chooses to find Cinderella. And in Seattle, Belfry has recognized the good work of Officer Rogers and has promoted him to detective. He's introduced to his new partner, Detective Weaver. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so so as soon as I saw Henry pick up the glass slipper, I was like, oh, Henry's our Prince Charming, even though we knew that already. And then, so a timer connected to a portal. So this is like fairy tale sliders at this point. I didn't quite understand.
What does that even mean, fairy tale sliders?
Oh,
there was boy, I am doing a lot of that this episode, aren't I, Monica? Okay. Sliders was a TV show in the 90s, starring Jerry O'Connell and Jonathan Rhys Davies. It was about a kid who, like a scientist kid who created a portal that like this device where he could open up portals to alternate worlds, and then he got stuck on the other side of the portal, and then he was able to fix the remote, but then they could only slide to, they couldn't control where they slid to, so they had to keep sliding through all of the alternate dimensions until they found their Earth where they came from.
That sounds really cool.
Oh, it was, yes.
It was and for at least 2 seasons.
They did get home, except the whole thing was every time they slid someplace, they would go back to Jerry O'Connell's character's house, and the back gate at his mom's place creaked, and it squeaked.
Yeah, one day it didn't creak, and then that made him realize that he wasn't. Yeah, I know. That's why I was trying to finish her story. One day it didn't creak when he went in, one of the Earths, everything was.
Day he was back. Okay. The Braves have won the World Series, and OJ's on trial for murder, and dear God, this dates it. But yeah. They're like, no, no. Mm-mm.
So yeah, it was a 90s show. There was 4 seasons of it. It's on Netflix probably if you ever want to check it out. But yeah, anyway, that's what I said. That's why, okay, first of all, it's just like the motorcycle. How is his cell phone still working? Why is this portal scheduled to open up at 12 a.m. Just everything about it, just like
How'd you
none
know it
of
was
that
12
made
a.m.?
Right? Who told you?
because that's what it said on the phone.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, but still, that doesn't explain saying, before he left Storybrooke, like, hey, Henry, FYI, your portal opens about
Well, I
10
guess
plus years.
this was years later. This was years later after he left Storybrooke. So obviously, somewhere along the way, I don't know, he found some way to find where portals open and close in different places. I don't know. But again, none of this was actually explained. All that it was just a timer went off in his pocket and a portal opened. That was weird. But then, and moving on, as far as Weaver and Rogers are concerned, I got a very either Training Day or True Detective vibe from that. Like this
Again,
is going to be like good.
I don't know, but
Okay, now these are like more,
I've heard of Training Day, but I've never seen it.
I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you for the '90s references I'm making, Elizabeth. But now I'm making 2000s references. No, True Detective was a show on HBO with Matthew McConaughey. And
Again, HBO. What did I tell you?
okay,
I don't
but
have
it was still like a thing. Like what True Blood is, right?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Same.
Okay, well,
The vampire
I figured,
show.
yeah. Well, this was a procedural show on HBO, but and Training Day is a movie with Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington. And basically a good cop, bad cop, good cop rookie gets thrown into partnership with like a hardened detective who shows him the ropes. That's why I said I got that vibe from Hook and Rumple.
I just think it's hilarious how after all these years of them hating each other, they're gonna work together.
Yeah, and they have no idea. Although, of course, everyone is very ominous as to whether Rumple actually does have any clue as to what's going on or not, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that pans out.
Definitely.
Yeah. We've known like all summer they were going to be working together, but it was actually only on my second watch through that I was like, wait, oh my god.
Wait, what do you mean we knew all summer? I don't remember knowing that.
Well,
yeah, I hadn't heard that either.
Them would be on the force.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't heard that. I didn't realize
because they were keeping Rumple's character under wraps. We knew about Hook, but we didn't know about Rumple.
I didn't.
No, I saw that somewhere. I mean, that Rumple was going to be a detective.
Oh.
I hadn't read that anywhere.
Oh.
I'm not. I mean, obviously you had. I'm not saying you hadn't. I'm just saying that I don't think that it was common knowledge.
Okay.
I think Monica's from the future, you guys. That's
Tell us what you know, Monica.
Tell us what you know.
I know nothing.
Are you sure? Are you sure you know nothing?
I love how you put this in the note. Just how woke is gold.
Yeah, I can't believe he doesn't know anything. He's gold.
I know, but the way you put that, I don't know if I would consider Rumple or Gold woke.
Point.
How about you, Tony?
Yes.
Do you think Rumple's woke?
Yeah, man, he is so woke. It's not even funny. So woke.
He is woke AF.
Yes. Wait, woke AF, man. I'm telling you. I call it.
Yeah, moving on. Belfry is that Ronnie's having her bar signed over to her. When Ronnie changes her mind, she tells her that Jacinda's courage has helped her. As she delivers her hope speech, we are treated to a montage of our main characters. Jacinda tripping over my words here. Jacinda regretfully asks for her job back. Henry arrives to put flour on your face in Lucy's book. Jacinda finds a coin while sweeping and decides to listen to her daughter and hope on a wish. Let me see, do I have... Okay. Across town, Henry is inspired to finally add some words to a blank canvas, and Ronnie rips up the papers and takes a shot, thus closing out our episode. So, And here we go again. I keep moving up and down on this thing.
Okay.
I mean, the
I'm
hope
done.
speech. I mean, it seems to be like, something that every savior has to deliver. Even, I guess, Ronnie or Snow wasn't necessarily a savior. She was usually the one who was giving the hope speech before. But anyway, Henry's opening poetic line was "Once upon a time." Really?
Not very poetic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sure, that's how all great stories start.
And beyond that, he just went home and started writing. He didn't like start freaking out that like his family's grave was gone. He didn't like run to the local precinct and be like, "Where the hell is it?" Or "Where's the grave site? Where's the graveyard that was there? Why is this? Why? I know it was there." Well, he's not like wrapped up in a straitjacket because he thought his family was dead. But now, I mean, no, he just went. It's like, "Oh, I guess I was wrong," and then he just goes home and writes "Once Upon a Time." What?
I'm telling you, man. I mean, shoot. Deleted scenes, they will tell us everything.
I hear you. But there was just like, there wasn't even like a look of like surprise and like nothing. He just went home and just like typed in what he was typing. There was no like, like it wasn't even like he went in got in the door and like closed the door behind him and was white as a ghost because he realized that his great, like nothing of that happened. Nothing.
Yeah, just a little confused look and oh well.
Yeah, guess I was wrong.
Well, you know
Really?
this show.
Or maybe
Anyway,
that's what's coming out of it.
Maybe.
But no, I mean, what I felt like, what snapped him out of it, because like he was sitting there at the computer, and like, I don't know, maybe this was just the actor, but he definitely did, like I said, he definitely didn't have any kind of look that you would think you would see on someone who just realized that they had didn't just lose their whatever. I don't even know how to explain it. But then when Jacinda throws the coin in the fountain, then all of a sudden you see his look change, and that's when he starts writing on the computer.
Maybe it was small. Maybe he got a little bit woken up, just a wee bit.
So like I said, where this wishing well is this garden that doesn't grow anymore. And then Lucy throws those seeds out that we mentioned earlier. It's the same flowers that Lucy broke her fall on, or Cinderella broke her fall on in the magical forest, hyacinths. It's the same flowers that Henry is bringing to his family's grave when he realizes that the grave is no longer there. And then I believe when Jacinda finally throws the coin in, we see the hyacinths start to grow. I believe that this represents the same thing that the clock tower represented from the first book. The clock tower no longer hasn't moved in ages. Now all of a sudden this person comes to town and the clock starts moving. Just like I said in that, and here you have the garden starting to bloom again.
Okay. Sounds nice.
Anyway, that is what I had to add about this last scene. And then, of course, like we already mentioned earlier, you had Rogers with that weird look of recognizing someone, familiarity on his face when he saw it. And I mean, they straight up showed Emma's face in the book at that point. And I believe we've already been told that Emma's episode will be next episode. Is that correct or not? A pirate's story, is that?
Pirate's Life or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Can't wait.
Tony, you have something to add?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just hoping they don't kill her.
I doubt it. I doubt it. Who knows? They may tease us with a small little bump on her stomach.
That's what I was. That's the next thing. That honestly, that was the only other thing that was in my head. Is that maybe she didn't come because she's pregnant and that's why she sent Hook.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Because
she didn't want, she's home pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, I guess my small little point to end this little conversation. I thought it was kind of funny that Ronnie. I mean, no, I'm sorry. I thought it was kind of funny that Regina sorry, Ronnie was doing a bit of a hope speech. I had to get my joke right. I thought it was Regina at the moment, but I was like, oh, wait a minute, no, it's Ronnie doing a hope speech.
No, I hear you.
But I'm thinking that this season is going to do a lot more than we expect. We just gotta be patient.
The one small thing I noticed about Regina that I liked at the end there was when Belfry said, "You'll regret this," and Ronnie said, "Regret's not my thing." And I feel like that's totally the opposite of, like before, regret was always her thing. Mm-hmm. That was like what led her down every wrong path that she ever made was regret.
Exactly.
And so, it was cool to finally see her kind of more, the weight of the world off her shoulders. Kind of cool. And I felt like that was a result of being redeemed, even though she is cursed and has no clue who she is.
Definitely.
All right. And what's Mr. F. Clux? What were you saying there, Monica?
Oh, just what I would rather call him. That scene.
Oh, wow. Okay,
and
sorry.
I don't have words for that. I hate that she needed to do that. I kind of hate that she did it, but I get why.
I do.
And then just Ronnie's speech. Oh my, that's one for the books. I'm going to pull a Bobby, you guys, and for me, that comes up there with back in season 5 of Buffy. She makes a speech to the Watchers Council because they're being a bunch of yahoos, and she tells them off, and it's awesome. And yeah, Ronnie's speech was on par with that. So
again, we need to get that bell because I'm surprised that I didn't even have to do it this episode, guys. I didn't even have to do it this episode.
Wait, I missed it. What's the bill for? Each time you refer
Buffy!
to Buffy?
every time Buffy's mentioned, yeah. Because usually it's me. It's me making a reference, but this time I didn't even.
Monica is a mini Bobby.
In the making.
All right. So, I guess neither of us really wrote anything about this next point, but like. With this, end of the episode, a lot to cover in this episode. There was a lot going on. They were back and forth, a lot of exposition going on. But so overall, though, how do we feel about the retool? Elizabeth.
I want to give it like an 8 out of 10 kind of thing, just because.
Well, we're not doing an arbitrary scale thing.
I'm not doing an arbitrary scale. I'm just saying for myself. How I felt about it.
Yeah, I guess I'll be able to break it down.
That's what I'm trying to do. So, it was like some of my family members and my friends thought we were all thinking it was weird because it's a bunch of new characters. We're having to get used to a new setup, even though it's a lot of the same setup, but it's different. So, my friend Katrina was like wondering what's going to happen with Emma, and we're talking about, this episode, and we're just like, okay, it's weird, but it's good. And I don't know, there's so many unanswered questions and everything. It's like, it's hard to wrap your mind around it. But overall, I did enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the season progresses.
Okay. And Tony, how about you?
Yeah, same thing, same bold. I'm very anxious to see what the season is going to bring us, and I really hope that it's a good feeling. I'm very anxious about it, so bring it on, season 7.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention also Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm really looking forward to see Henry falling in love. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah. I feel like their chemistry wasn't 100% there tonight, and I'm hoping it'll evolve over what we're watching. But we'll see. We'll see. Monica, did you have anything to add as far as the retool goes?
Just because it's a story we've heard before doesn't mean it's not a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
what is it? They say that there's only 7 stories anyway, something like that.
Yeah,
they're just
something like that. So.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the vogue of the day, is like taking old stories and doing them the same but repurposing them a little bit. You had that go on with Star Wars, where they more or less just made the first movie over again with new characters, and you know, I mean that's, I guess, the most famous current example that I can think of, obviously, but which I guess is no surprise, being how big fans Edward, Kitsis and Horowitz are of Star Wars. There's been so many different references they've made to that in the show over time. That being said, I mean, like Monica said, I do feel like there's room to grow. There's definitely a lot of questions unanswered. I do feel like they could have done a better job of not making it so, I don't know if aggravating is the right word, but that there's a way to leave it so unsatisfying, because I mean some of the things, like we've said during the course of our breakdown, like some of the things like just felt like they just didn't make sense at all. but and maybe in hindsight, after watching the first half season, we'll go back and realize, I've had plenty of shows do that. I've had plenty of shows make an episode better in hindsight after watching a season or a half a season and putting that episode into the context that it should be in. But regardless, I definitely will am anticipating what's going to be happening. And I just want to know the answers to all the questions and hope that this makes sense.
Definitely. I agree.
I mean, like we said earlier before, where did this curse come from? I really don't think that Tremaine, I was trying to think of her name, sorry. I don't think that she actually had anything to do with the curse itself. If anything, I think that maybe she might have come across the curse, or like maybe she used it to her advantage, but I don't think that she was actually the one that either caused the curse or cast the curse, or I don't even think she's the person who called for the curse to be cast, because I think that's going to be too easy, and I think that's what they want us all to think to begin with.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But I mean, who did? And maybe it was her stepdaughter. Maybe it was that fairy's sister. Who knows?
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Black Fairy is not dead.
Another thing is, I still want to understand how they're going to justify only bringing the 3 to 4 characters back. Rumple, Regina, and Hook. And I still feel, and I hope that they address it, that it's cool that it's only the villains, or only the redeemed villains, I guess, that do return to help Henry. And maybe Rumple isn't helping Henry, or Rumple is helping Henry just how Rumple always has been, where he's helping Henry, but just not in the way everyone else wants him to help.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then, of course, what's Alice's deal? And, of course, as always, what's Rumple's deal? I mean, that'll probably play out over most of the season, to be honest with you. In the end, we'll realize that, he's doing all of this for the good of Henry or whatever. But lots of questions. Can't wait to hear the answers. But as far as that goes, I guess we just leaves the arbitrary scale. I've got the item here, but I don't have numbers, so I'll say out of 87 clipped fairy wings because Tremaine's been busy.
Ow.
Out of 87 clipped fairy wings, Elizabeth, what?
That's a mean one.
Look, I inherited the show from Bill. You know how he goes. You should have heard some of the ratings he had on Gotham, okay? So,
okay.
87 clipped fairy wings. Elizabeth, what do you give this episode?
65.
65. Wow. Okay.
Like a B.
Yeah. Roughly. And so basically you liked the episode, but definitely felt it could have done better.
Yeah, I mean, it could have done better. It was a little here and there, and so many. I mean, it's the first episode of the season, so of course there's going to be more questions than answers. But overall, I did enjoy it. I really did. And
like I said, I feel like I said, I don't know if aggravating is the word. Maybe it's that it's just that like, all these unanswered questions.
Frustrating.
Yeah, there we go. Frustrating. There we go. Monica, what do you give this episode out of 87?
61.
61 clipped fairy wings.
Yeah,
okay. And
I liked it. I liked the story. There were holes in the execution. But just ticked me off. But I liked the story itself. So.
And the holes is what you're saying is what ticked you off? The more or less the moments we pointed out in the breakdown of like how could this happen at this point in time and all this other things.
Yeah, and things like Henry's champagne flute, he picks it up, he takes a sip, and then poof, it's gone. Or when Lucy first confronts him and she has the book, and she picked it up a good 2 or 3 times, never saw her set it down, and the camera never left her.
Another thing I failed to mention that isn't necessarily a plot hole or anything like that, but they were afternoon day drinking, whatever, it doesn't matter, don't judge. But he was about to go drive his car after that.
Ooh.
Like there was no
one.
They sat there the whole he had more than one. I don't know. There was even a moment during their exchange where he looked a little like, I don't know if he was supposed to be, but he looked like they had been drinking for a minute, and I don't know. Like I said, I just like for the second viewing, I was like, wait a second, he's about to get in his car, and he just left the bar after drinking.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Maybe that's why his car was stolen.
Rumple is looking out for him.
Yep.
Tony, what do you give this episode?
$59 clipped fairy wings.
Yeah, scale just keeps going lower.
87. Yeah, I thought he would too, to be honest with you, the way he was talking about it in message earlier. So your reason for giving it 59?
Well, same as everybody else's, this is the first episode, and there are still some questions that need to be answered. A lot of questions more than answers, and of course, we're not going to get all of that in the very first episode. Which, to be fair, it's cool. It's cool, but there's still a lot to be covered, and I'm very excited and anxious to dive into the story. But also, I know the pilot should have. I believe, in my opinion, should have given us the same magical flair that the original pilot did.
I agree. It definitely was not on par. I don't know if it hurt it that we were trying to compare it to that, and I wouldn't necessarily say trying to, but you can't help but compare that. I mean, that's what it came from. That being said, I mean, everything that you guys brought up a lot of valid points, probably the same that I would bring up, the plot holes, the the frustrating lack of any kind of clarity as to what's going on, even though I guess that's supposed to be, that's why you're supposed to come back, is to find out why it's going on. The actor portrayals, I don't know. I thought they did a good job with Andrew West. I thought he did a pretty good job of playing a grown-up Henry. The way they made up Henry in the beginning of this episode, then transitioning over to Andrew West, I thought that there was enough similarity there that made it believable. But it was still hard to, that's not Henry. Like as far as much as they wanted to convey to us that this is the Henry that we've been watching for the past 6 years, it just isn't. And then our other main characters, I mean, with the exception of maybe Ronnie, you didn't see them much at all. But that's not to say, once like you guys just said, this is the first episode. So I'm hoping that context makes it a little higher, in hindsight. I guess I'm really going to probably have to give this episode somewhere in the range of, I'll say, a 63 out of 80.
All right.
I mean, it wasn't terrible. It definitely has me intrigued and I want to watch more, but I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't hoping for more.
Definitely. I feel you. I feel you.
All right. Oh, man, I'm choking up over here. Anyway.
Okay, boys. Okay.
Elizabeth, do you want to tell us the ratings for this week?
Hold
on a second. Let me see.
Because I have to do the listener feedback.
I can do the.
All right, you guys pause for a second, or let me see. It's on here, right? Let's see if Bill and Ann can help us with the news segment. Nope.
Don't tell us you lost it again.
No, my phone was down because I didn't want the phone to ring or anything.
La 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 la. Hey, ha ha. I'm passing the time.
Time killer.
You hear that one or no?
Not really.
No, probably not. Yeah, there's something wrong going. Something going on with my
news.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. I'll get that edited down better, and we'll try to make that run a little smoother next time. So the news, and for this week, there wasn't really a whole lot of news, but for the ratings, ABC's Once Upon a Time did christen its new Friday time slot with a 3.3 million total viewers and a 0.7 demo rating. Down in the demo from both its May finale, which is 3 million and 0.9, and its season 6 average of 3.2.9, which of course aired on Sundays, where the average viewing levels are significantly higher than Fridays. So I don't know exactly what the 0.7 that we saw this week compares to, like, say, a similar show in its time slot, in any other given week. But we do know that Fridays, as they say in this article, are usually lighter ratings than most nights anyway. So fortunately, even though the ratings do bear a series low for the premieres go, as far as premieres go, the good news, I guess, if you're trying to look for any, is that this is Friday, so you don't necessarily have to have larger ratings to succeed on Friday.
This is true.
Because they're just looking for, perform as well on Fridays to beat out other competition. So,
well,
like I said, I haven't really seen what it did as far as the night compared to other shows, and just in general, even though the 0.7 is very low for the series in general, we can't really compare that to previous episodes of the show itself, because that's on a totally different night and time, or at least night anyway.
True.
Anyway, so we got listener feedback. Unfortunately, no voicemails or anything like that, but we do have, I believe, some Facebook messages from Elizabeth.
We have 2 listener feedbacks from Facebook. So the first one comes from Bud Vander K, and he writes to us, "Hey guys, I'm excited. I felt that the show is off to a great start. The issue that I have is that they seem to reuse the original storyline. However, the changes were enough to make it seem like a different storyline. I loved how the original characters made it fun for the longtime fans, but I'm very curious how they're going to handle the Killian-Emma situation. I'm worried for 2 reasons. 1, I'm worried that they are going to take the Emma died route. I'm also worried because I don't want the emotional trauma from watching Killian suffer."
Oh.
Yeah, I feel like
So that's the first
I feel
feedback.
like they're not gonna kill Emma. I really do. I feel like it's probably gonna be like Tony and I said earlier, that it'll probably be that Emma, has a little baby bump going on and decides she can't go on the adventure because she doesn't want to, harm her baby. So that'll be, that gives them an out with Emma. That gives them, everything. She's not dead. A happier ending for her and Hook because now they have a baby on the way. That's what I think will probably happen.
That would be a dream come true. All right. Our second feedback is from Rachel Nash. She writes, "I was disappointed. The actor playing Henry was good, as were Rumple, Hook, and Regina. The flirting between Cinderella and Henry to me was unbelievable, and I just didn't like Jacinda. The show was basically one huge cliche after another. I went in intending to love it, and I just couldn't. I'll give it a few weeks. Hopefully they will get over this rough patch. Thank you. Sorry for the haterade."
Oh, no problem with the haterade at all. I think we actually probably spilled quite a bit ourselves during this episode.
I think a gallon.
But like I said, I mean, I'm just hoping that in context that we look back on this episode, and once we get some of the answers and realize it's not as bad. I don't know. I'm not going to say not as bad because I'm not going to say it was a bad episode. There definitely have been worse episodes of Once Upon a Time. But I don't know. It just wasn't satisfying, I guess. But I mean, unfortunately, that is all the feedback we have this week, and we want to hear your feedback as well. This podcast used to be so active, and we're trying to get that activity back. It's great to hear from Bud. It's great to hear from Rachel. It's great to hear from anyone when they chime in. But we want you to get the word back out. We over time here recently, we've heard, how many times, Elizabeth, have we heard on Facebook and or Twitter, "Oh, this is back on. I thought you guys had canceled the podcast."
Many times.
Yeah, there's so many. When Bill and Anne-Marie quit the podcast, there was no real smooth transition as to how this happened. They quit a season, and then we came in like an episode or 2 or 3 even into the next season. There was no real big announcement. A lot of people just didn't listen because they didn't even realize we were here. Well, guess what, guys? We're here, and we want to hear from you. So just like Bud, just like Rachel, send us voicemail, send us Twitter, Instagram, and in order to get that going, we're going to start a giveaway for the month of October. Being that this is kind of a retooled podcast, retooled show, nothing big, but just some small things to show our appreciation to the viewers and the listeners of Greetings from Storybrooke. So starting today, Rachel, Bud, you'll obviously be put into the drawing. But starting today, we want you to share the podcast any and every way you can on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. your own blogs, even wherever. Just share it. Hashtag it GFS New Book. That's GFS for Greetings for Storybrooke, or Greetings from Storybrooke, and New Book, GFS New Book. And just like I said, share your love of the podcast. Let people you know about the podcast. Review us on iTunes or wherever else you can review podcasts. Take pictures, share them on Instagram. Share your love of Once Upon a Time and of Greetings from Storybrooke, and let us feel that love. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add?
We want to feel the love.
Yeah.
We want all the hugs and kisses you have to offer.
I know I have a few extra Funkos here, so I know one of the prizes I'm going to be throwing in is a Funko of Rumpelstiltskin. And I hadn't discussed this with the three of you guys, but I was thinking we'd probably go ahead and get I know, Elizabeth, you were thinking about Regina and or Hook for another Funko. So maybe we also get Regina, and that represents the three characters that are returning from the old show.
So I was thinking of Hook, but...
Oh, you did say Hook. Well, we'll get Regina as well. So those are just some of the prizes we're thinking about. We're going to have about 4 to 5 prizes. And October 29th, on noon, October 29th, we'll be drawing anyone. Noon Eastern time. Thank you, Monica. We'll be making a drawing. Everyone who tweets or shares, like I said, shares their love of the podcast on social media with the hashtag GFS New Book will be entered into the drawing. And on sorry, I'm getting long-winded here. On noon, October 29th, we will have the drawing. And on that, I believe we picked that day because it's the day of an episode. So on that episode, we will be announcing the winners of the drawing. So,
and also if you submit feedback.
Yeah, yes, that's the most important thing is submit feedback. That's like I said, greetings from Storybrooke at gmail.com. That's Twitter is at GFS or at GF Storybrooke rather. Sorry. Okay, so I said email, and then Facebook, of course, is Facebook / Greetings from Storybrooke. Most of you who listen are also Facebook part of the group. So share feedback on that group, share feedback on Twitter, share feedback on, take pictures of what you're doing while you're listening to the podcast and hashtag GFS New Book. Let your friends know about this podcast. Maybe there's, you have friends who watch the show who don't listen. Just do anything and everything you can. Let them know that we're still here. And, you'll be entered into the drawing, and you win yourself one of these cool little Funkos, maybe a book, a bunch of cool little Once Upon a Time swag. And if this is successful, who knows? Maybe we could do something similar in the future. We're just trying. Not only are we trying to get the feedback back, we love the interactivity of our fans, our listeners, but we're also just trying to show our appreciation of the people who tune in every week to hear us ramble.
Yes. Would really appreciate it.
Yes, yeah. So that being said, I think that's going to do it for this week, guys. It's almost a 2-hour episode, at least an hour and a half here. I mean, although there was a lot to break down, real exposition heavy. Obviously, this was almost like a new pilot.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not quite satisfied, but I'm still anxious to see where this is going. And I'm anxious for you guys to tune in every week. Let us know what you think. Email greetings from Storybrooke at gmail.com, Twitter at GF Storybrooke. The Facebook is facebook.com/greetings from Storybrooke, and the voicemail is 424-274-2352. That's 424-274-2352. So, Elizabeth, until next week, where can we, if anyone wants to find out what you're up to, maybe they want a Lyft ride. Where can they hit you up at?
I am Elizabeth Placencia. You can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter, which I'm never on. I forget my Twitter name, so I'm not gonna give it to you right now. But you know, Facebook always. So yeah.
And Monica, how about you? Where can people find you on Twitter and or Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, but just hit me up through the greetings group, because
just find you active in the greetings group.
Yeah. Or Twitter at Monica Sedai, Sedai.
Okay, Sedai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wheel of Time.
And oh, okay. And Tony.
Okay. Hey guys, you can find me on at Hoops900. That's HOOPS 900 on the Twitters. I do actively tweet about the show, in fact, and about other shows. So come with me on this tweeting journey. You won't regret it.
And of course, I'm Bobby Hawk. You can catch me on Twitter at Inevitable Hawk, HAWKE, Inevitable Hawk. Bobby Hawk on Facebook. Every week, I am live tweeting from the at GF Storybrooke Twitter account. Tweeting along to the show. It was a little active this week, about 2 or 3 other listeners. Again, this is getting back and active. A lot of people don't realize we're out there, but here we are. Hashtag us at GFS New Book and let us know you're out there. So until next week, guys. It says to me, unless my phone locks and I can't get back into the music. Okay, here we go. Until next week, guys. Greetings from Storybrooke.
Peace.